Imaging finding a rare coin so rare it could pay off your house today, we're diving into 10 of the most valuable U.S. coins ever found. Real coins worth hundreds and even millions of dollars or more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next rare find. Let's start this.
We're diving deep into one specific coin that many Americans have handled, spent, and forgotten about, the 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why this ordinary-looking copper coin can sometimes turn into an extraordinary treasure. The 1971 Lincoln Cent is part of the long-running Lincoln Penny series that began in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln. The obverse features the familiar portrait of Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner. The reverse, in 1971, still carried the classic wheat-free design introduced in 1959, the Lincoln Memorial, created by Frank Gasparo. That memorial reverse continued until 2008, making the 1971 penny part of a very recognizable era in American coinage. Now let's talk about what no mint mark really means. In 1971, pennies were produced at multiple U.S. mint facilities, including Philadelphia and Denver. Coins struck in Denver carry a small D mint mark beneath the date. But coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint did not carry a mint mark at all during that time. So when you see a 1971 penny with no letter under the date, that usually means it was minted in Philadelphia. Here's something important: the 1971 no-mint mark penny is not rare in general circulation. In fact, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 1.9 billion Lincoln cents that year. That's a massive number. So if you find a worn 1971 penny in pocket change, it's typically worth only 1 cent. But here's where things get interesting: not all 1971 no-mint mark pennies are created equal. While the majority are common, certain examples with specific characteristics can be worth dramatically more, especially if they feature rare errors, exceptional condition, or unusual die varieties. Let's start with condition. Coin collectors grade coins on a scale that ranges from poor all the way up to mint state 70. Most 1971 pennies found in circulation today are heavily worn, showing scratches, dull surfaces, and flattened details. Those coins carry little to no premium. However, if you happen to find a 1971 no-mint mark penny in pristine, uncirculated condition, one that has never been used in commerce, its value can jump significantly. A bright red, fully lustrous example with sharp details and no wear is far more desirable. Collectors use color designations for copper coins: brown, and red. A fully red coin with original mint luster is the most valuable. Why? Because copper is reactive. Over time, it darkens and tones. So finding a 1971 penny that has retained its fiery red shine for more than 5 decades is not easy. Now let's talk about errors, the real game changer point. One of the most exciting aspects of coin collecting is mint errors. These happen during the striking process. In 1971, quality control was good, but not perfect. And when mistakes slipped through, they sometimes created coins that collectors today are willing to pay serious money for. One well-known variety is the double die obverse. A double die occurs when the coin's design is impressed onto the die more than once at slightly different angles. When that die strikes coins, the doubling appears on the coin itself, often visible in the lettering or the date. On certain 1971 no-mint mark pennies, you may notice doubling on the word Liberty or on the motto "In God We Trust." Under magnification, the letters may look thick, slightly shadowed, or clearly doubled. These are not machine doubling errors, those are common and less valuable. True double dies have strong, separated images that are part of the die itself. If authenticated and graded by major third-party grading companies like PCGS or NGC, high-grade double die examples can command impressive prices at auction. Another valuable error to look for is off-center strikes. During the minting process, if the coin blank is not properly aligned with the dies, the design can be struck partially off-center. The more dramatic the off-center strike, while still showing a visible date, the more valuable it becomes. Then there are clipped planchets. A clipped planchet occurs when the metal blank is improperly cut from the metal strip, leaving a curved or straight clip missing from the coin's edge. These mint errors are immediately visible and highly collectible. You should also check for die cracks and cuds. A cud forms when a piece of the die breaks off near the rim, leaving a raised blob of metal on the finished coin. These errors are unusual and often bring premiums depending on their size and location. Now let's talk about grading and authentication. That if you believe you have found a high-grade 1971 no-mint mark penny or one with a strong error, do not clean it. Cleaning a coin can dramatically reduce its value. Even light polishing or rubbing can leave hairline scratches that professional graders will detect instantly. Instead, place the coin in a protective holder and consider submitting it to a reputable grading service. Professional grading not only authenticates the coin but also assigns it an official grade that collectors trust. That trust translates directly into higher potential selling prices. Another factor that can dramatically increase value is scarcity in top grades. Even though billions were made, very few survive in flawless condition. Coins graded MS 67 or higher are extremely rare for this date. Registry set collectors compete aggressively for top population coins. When demand meets limited supply, prices can soar. This is where your opportunity lies. Most people overlook pennies. They toss them into jars, leave them in drawers, or spend them without a second thought. But serious collectors understand that condition rarity can be more important than mintage numbers. Imagine pulling a bright red 1971 no-mint mark penny from an old bankroll that has been sitting untouched for decades. That coin could potentially grade at the top of the population report, and suddenly, a 1-cent coin becomes a serious asset. So where should you look? Start with old coin jars, inherited collections, estate sales, and bankrolls. Sometimes older individuals who saved coins decades ago unknowingly preserved high-grade examples simply by storing them away. When examining your coin, use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe with at least 5x to 10x magnification. Look closely at the date, Liberty, and in God we trust for signs of doubling. Tilt the coin under good lighting to examine luster and surface preservation. Check the edges for clips or irregularities. Patience is key. Most 1971 pennies will not be valuable. But it only takes one exceptional example to make the search worthwhile. Collectors in the United States, especially those between 30 and 65 who are serious about building wealth through tangible assets, increasingly appreciate coins as both historical artifacts and investment pieces. Unlike paper currency, rare coins have intrinsic collectible demand that spans generations, and remember, copper coins from this era were composed primarily of 95% copper. While melt value alone won't make you rich, it adds a layer of intrinsic worth that modern zinc pennies simply do not have. The thrill of coin hunting is not just about money. It's about discovery. It's about holding history in your hand. The 1971 Lincoln penny circulated during a time of economic change in America. It passed through grocery stores, gas stations, diners, and family businesses. Each coin tells a silent story, but occasionally, one of those stories includes a minting mistake or pristine preservation that turns it from ordinary to extraordinary. Before you dismiss that 1971 penny as just pocket change, take a closer look. Examine it carefully. Study it. Compare it to verified double-die images online. If it looks promising, consider professional evaluation. There is something powerful about holding a small copper coin in your hand and realizing it could be worth far more than 1 cent. Today we are diving deep into a coin that many Americans have seen, spent, or even ignored for decades, the 1973 D-Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny from the United States of America. This is not just pocket change. For the right collector, in the right condition, with the right details, this coin can become a serious opportunity. And if you are someone between 30 and 65 who has been saving old coins in jars, drawers, or inherited collections, this is exactly the kind of coin you should be paying attention to. The 1973 D Lincoln Cent was struck at the famous United States Mint facility in Denver. The D-Mint mark located just below the date on the obverse tells us it was produced at the Denver Mint. In 1973, the Denver Mint produced billions of pennies. That might make it sound common. But here is the secret most people don't understand: when a coin is produced in massive numbers, the vast majority enter circulation. They are spent. They are scratched. They are worn down in pockets and cash registers. Very few survive in pristine, high-grade condition. And in the coin market, condition is everything. The the 1973 VDB Lincoln Cent features the classic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the front. This design was originally created by Victor David Brenner in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. On the reverse of the 1973 penny, you will find the Lincoln Memorial design, introduced in 1959. That reverse was designed by Frank Gasparo and remained in use until 2008. This means your 1973 VDB penny is part of the Lincoln Memorial series, one of the longest-running and most widely collected coin designs in American history. Now let's talk about composition. The 1973 VDB Lincoln penny is made primarily of copper, 95% copper and 5% zinc. That warm reddish tone you see on uncirculated examples is what collectors call original red luster. And that red color can make a dramatic difference in value. Collectors divide these coins into three main color categories: brown, and red. A full red example with blazing mint luster can command significantly higher prices than a dull brown coin, even if both are technically uncirculated. So what is a typical 1973 VDB penny worth, if you find one in average circulated condition, meaning it has been used in everyday commerce? Its value is usually only a few cents above face value. But that is not what we are hunting for. The real money is in high-grade uncirculated examples, especially those graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC. Coins graded MS65, MS66, or higher can bring impressive premiums. And once you enter the realm of MS67 and above, you are dealing with coins that are extremely scarce in that condition, but condition alone is not the only factor. Let's talk about errors, because this is where hidden treasure can be found. In 1973, like any year of large-scale coin production, mistakes happened. Some 1973 VDB pennies have been discovered with off-center strikes. Others show double die characteristics, where design elements appear slightly doubled due to a misalignment during the die creation process. There are also examples of die cracks, cuts, and even clipped planchets. A dramatic off-center strike that still shows a full date and mint mark can multiply the value many times over. A strong double die can also bring significant interest from collectors. These error coins are rare compared to the total mintage, and rarity drives demand. Another factor to consider is strike quality. Not all 1973 VDB pennies were struck equally. Some show weak details in Lincoln's hair or the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. A sharply struck example with crisp detail is more desirable and more valuable. When evaluating your 1973 VDB penny, look carefully at the high points of the design. Check Lincoln's cheek, jawline, and hair above the ear. On the reverse, inspect the memorial columns. Are they sharp and defined? Or are they flat and worn? Also examine the surfaces for marks. In mint state grades, even tiny contact marks can lower the grade significantly. Coins that were stored carefully in rolls or mint sets often survive in better condition than those loose in jars. Now here is where things get exciting. In top population grades, meaning the finest known examples certified, the 1973 VDB Lincoln Cent has achieved auction results that surprise many people. While most examples are common, a nearly perfect coin with blazing red surfaces, flawless fields, and razor-sharp details can command serious collector competition, and that is why you should never dismiss a 1973 VDB penny just because it looks ordinary. Think about this. In 1973, gasoline was under $1 per gallon. The world was very different. Those pennies were moving through the economy during a time of major change in American history. Many were spent and lost. Few were preserved in top condition with the expectation they would someday be rare. If you inherited coin rolls from a parent or grandparent, or if you have old bank-wrapped rolls marked 1973 VDB, you could be sitting on potential value. Original rolls that have never been searched are particularly exciting because they might contain high-grade gems. Another important factor is eye appeal. Two coins with the same technical grade can sell for very different prices depending on their visual attractiveness. A coin with vibrant, even red color and minimal spots will outperform a dull, stained example every time. Copper coins are especially sensitive to environmental damage. Improper storage can lead to spotting, discoloration, or corrosion. That is why original red coins from the early 1970s in superb condition are much harder to find than people think. Let me give you a practical action plan. First, gather all your 1973 pennies and separate the ones with the D mint mark. Second, look for coins that still have strong red color and minimal wear. Third, inspect for errors using a magnifying glass or coin loop. Focus on doubling in the lettering, unusual strike alignment, or strange metal shapes that if you believe you have a high grade or error example, consider submitting it to a reputable grading service. Certification adds credibility and often increases market value because buyers trust third-party grading. Remember, the coin market rewards knowledge and patience. Many valuable coins have been discovered by ordinary people who simply took the time to look closely. The 1973 D Lincoln penny may not sound glamorous at first. It is not made of gold or silver. It does not contain precious metal beyond copper. But in the world of numismatics, rarity and condition can transform even the most common coin into a collectible asset, and here is something else to keep in mind. The demand for high-grade Lincoln cents continues to grow. Serious registry set collectors compete for the finest known examples. When population reports show only a handful of coins at the very top grade, prices can climb quickly. Imagine pulling a nearly perfect 1973 D penny from an old roll and realizing it is one of the finest known examples in existence. That is the thrill that keeps collectors searching. If you have ever tossed a penny into a jar without a second thought, this video might completely change the way you look at your spare change forever. Because today, we're diving deep into a coin that millions of Americans have handled, but very few have truly examined closely. We're talking about the 1984 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny from the United States of America. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Copper-colored. Familiar. The face of President Abraham Lincoln staring calmly into history. The Lincoln Memorial standing proudly on the reverse. Nothing flashy. Nothing dramatic. But hidden within some of these 1984 pennies is a detail that can turn a single cent into a serious payday. Let's slow down and really understand what makes this coin special. The 1984 Lincoln 1-cent penny is part of the long-running Lincoln Cent series that began in 1909. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this coin was the first regular-issue United States coin to feature a real historical figure. Abraham Lincoln's profile has remained a powerful symbol of integrity, resilience, and American heritage for generations. By 1984, the penny had already gone through significant changes. Since 1982, Lincoln cents were struck in a copper-plated zinc composition instead of mostly copper. That means your 1984 penny contains a zinc core with a thin copper coating. It weighs approximately 2.5 grams, unlike pre-1982 copper cents which weigh about 3.11 grams. Now let's talk about the no mint mark detail. When you see no mint mark on a 1984 Lincoln cent, it means the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. During that time, Philadelphia coins typically did not carry a mint mark. So technically, no mint mark is normal for many 1984 pennies. And yes, billions were made, but here's where things get interesting. Not all 1984 no mint mark pennies are created equal. Most are worth face value. Maybe a few cents in circulated condition. But certain varieties and high-grade examples are where serious collectors start paying attention. One of the most famous and valuable varieties is the 1984 double die obverse. If you're new to coin collecting, a double die error happens during the die creation process. When the die that stamps the coin design receives a misaligned impression from the hub, it can create noticeable doubling on the coin's details. This is not damage. It's not machine doubling. It's a genuine mint error that occurred before the coin was even struck. On the 1984 double die obverse penny, the doubling is most visible on the word Liberty and in the date. But the most dramatic doubling appears on Lincoln's ear. In fact, many collectors call it the double ear variety. If you examine Lincoln's ear under magnification and see a clear second lobe or distinct doubling, you may be holding something far more valuable than 1 cent. Condition is everything. In heavily circulated condition, even a double die might sell for modest amounts compared to pristine examples. But when you find a 1984 no mint mark double die penny in high mint state grades, especially graded MS65, MS66, or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, the value can skyrocket. professional grading matters because it verifies authenticity and assigns a standardized condition grade. A coin graded MS stands for mint state, meaning it shows no wear from circulation. The higher the number, the better the condition, with MS 70 being perfect. Now imagine this: a coin struck in 1984. Forgotten in a drawer for decades. Never circulated. Preserved in near-perfect condition. And carrying a dramatic double die error. That is the kind of coin that can create bidding wars among collectors. But let's go deeper. Why does the 1984 double die matter so much? Because collectors love visible, dramatic errors. Some double dies require a microscope and expert knowledge to detect. But the 1984 double ear can often be seen with a simple 5x or 10x magnifying glass. It's bold. It's undeniable. And it's famous within the Lincoln Cent collecting community. The popularity of the Lincoln series also drives demand. Lincoln Cents are one of the most widely collected coins in the United States. Millions of collectors try to complete date and mint sets. Error collectors actively hunt for recognized varieties. And registry set competitors pay premiums for the highest graded examples. Supply and demand always determine value. Although millions of 1984 pennies were struck in Philadelphia, only a small percentage exhibit the true double die error. And an even smaller percentage survive in top mint state condition. This combination of rarity plus condition equals opportunity. Now let's talk about how you can identify one. First, grab a magnifying glass. Focus on Lincoln's ear. If you see strong, separated doubling that looks like a second ear underneath the primary ear, you may have the double die variety. Next, check Liberty. The letters may show clear separation and thickness due to the doubling. Then inspect the date, 1984. Look for split or shadow-like impressions around the numbers. Be careful not to confuse machine doubling with a true double die. Machine doubling often looks flat and shelf-like. True double die doubling appears rounded and part of the design itself. If you believe you have a genuine example, consider sending it to a reputable grading service. Authentication is critical before selling. Let's talk numbers. Most regular 1984 no mint mark pennies in circulated condition are worth face value. In uncirculated condition, they might bring a few dollars, but the double die obverse variety changes everything. Lower mint state examples might sell for tens or even a few $100s depending on appeal and demand. High-grade certified examples. That's where things get exciting, because when you combine dramatic doubling, strong red color preservation, sharp strike, and top-tier grading, the market can respond aggressively. Collectors compete. Registry set builders push prices higher. And suddenly, a coin that once bought a piece of candy becomes a serious asset. This is why I always tell viewers between 30 and 65 years old who are thinking about selling old coins, do not rush to spend your change. Examine it. Study it. Understand it. The 1984 no mint mark Lincoln penny is proof that modern coins can still hold hidden value. It's not just about 1800 silver dollars or rare gold coins. Even coins from the 1980s can carry significant premiums if they have the right characteristics. And here's another key factor: color designation. Lincoln Cents are often categorized as brown, red-brown, or red when graded. A full red designation means the coin retains at least 95% of its original mint luster color. Red coins typically command much higher prices than brown examples, especially in higher grades. So if you find a bright, original red 1984 double die penny in exceptional condition, you may be holding something that serious collectors want. Think about that. A coin that sat quietly in circulation during the Reagan era. Passed through grocery stores. Dropped into vending machines. Collected in piggy banks. And yet, today, one extraordinary example can represent a meaningful financial opportunity. This is why knowledge is power in coin collecting. When you understand mint marks, varieties, grading, and market demand, you stop seeing pennies as small change. You start seeing them as historical artifacts and potential assets. Always remember to store valuable coins properly. Avoid cleaning them. Cleaning can destroy value instantly. Use protective holders. Handle coins by the edges. And if you believe you have something special, seek professional evaluation. The world of coin collecting rewards patience and education. And now, let's let's bring this home. Imagine discovering a 1984 no-mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny with the famous doubled-ear variety. Imagine it grading at a top mint state level with blazing red color and crisp detail. Imagine collectors recognizing its rarity and competing to own it in the right condition, at the right time, in the right auction environment. A 1984 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny has achieved a market value of $46,737. So before you overlook that jar of pennies sitting in your house, take a closer look. We're diving deep into a coin that millions of Americans have handled, spent, and forgotten. Yet hidden among ordinary change could be a small copper treasure, the 1988 no-mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. This is not a fantasy. This is not hype. This is about real coins, real collectors, and real money. The 1988 Lincoln Cent was struck during an interesting period in United States coinage history. The design still carried the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of his birth. That iconic image was created by Victor David Brenner, and for decades it has remained one of the most recognized coin designs in American history. On the reverse of the 1988 penny, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959. Look closely at the memorial building and you can even see a tiny image of Lincoln seated inside. It's a remarkable detail for such a small coin. Now here's where things get exciting. When we say, no mint mark, we are referring to coins that were struck at the Philadelphia Mint. During 1988, pennies produced in Philadelphia did not carry a mint mark. Coins from Denver display a D mint mark. San Francisco struck proof coins with an S mint mark. So technically, most 1988 pennies you find without a mint mark came from Philadelphia, but here's the critical detail many people miss: not all 1988 no mint mark pennies are created equal. In 1988, the United States Mint was producing Lincoln cents using copper-plated zinc planchets. Since 1982, the composition had shifted from mostly copper to 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating. These coins weigh about 2.5 grams. If you ever find a 1988 penny that weighs closer to 3.1 grams, that would be extremely unusual and worth further investigation, but the real treasure hunters focus on something even more specific. In the late 1980s, subtle changes were made to the reverse design of the Lincoln Memorial Cent. There are different reverse styles, commonly referred to by collectors as reverse of 1988 and reverse of 1989. These differences are small, so small that most people would never notice them without magnification. The shape of the lettering in United States of America and the spacing details on the reverse are key. On certain rare transitional varieties, a 1988 penny was struck using the reverse design intended for the following year. That's where the magic happens. A transitional reverse variety is something serious collectors love. It represents a small window in time when the mint used a design that technically belonged to a different year. These are not common, and when authenticated, they can command significant premiums. Imagine going through a jar of pennies that's been sitting in your kitchen for years. You separate out the 1988 coins. Most will look ordinary. But one of them might have that subtle reverse detail, the wrong reverse for the year. That small detail could mean the difference between 1 cent and thousands of dollars. Condition also plays a powerful role. Even a normal 1988 no mint mark penny in circulated condition is typically worth face value. But in uncirculated condition, especially with strong luster, sharp details, and no contact marks, the value increases dramatically. Coins graded mint state 65 or higher by professional grading services are highly desirable. Collectors pay premiums for perfection. Look at Lincoln's cheek. Examine the high points of the hair. Check the steps of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Are they sharp? Are they worn? Is the original mint red color still blazing across the surface? Color matters. Red pennies are more valuable than red-brown. Red-brown are more valuable than brown. A fully red 1988 penny with strong eye appeal can sell for many times its face value. Now let's talk about errors. Mint errors are another area where the 1988 no mint mark penny becomes exciting. Off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, clipped planchets, all of these can turn an ordinary cent into a collector's prize. One of the most sought-after possibilities is a double die error. This happens when the die used to strike the coin has a misalignment during its creation, causing doubling in the lettering or date. If you see clear doubling on Liberty or the date 1988, you may have something worth investigating further, but remember, not all doubling is valuable. Machine doubling is common and does not carry the same premium. True double die errors show distinct separation and strong secondary images. So how do you check? You need magnification. A simple 10x or 20x loop can reveal details invisible to the naked eye. Compare your coin to verified examples from trusted numismatic references. Study the shape of the letters carefully, and always weigh your coin. A small digital scale can help identify unusual planchet errors or wrong metal strikes. Another thing to consider is population. Coins that are common in lower grades can become rare in top grades. The difference between mint state 64 and mint state 67 can be dramatic in terms of value. Registry set collectors compete fiercely for the highest graded examples. When supply is low and demand is strong, prices rise. That's basic economics, and it applies powerfully in the coin market. The 1988 no-mint mark penny may not sound glamorous at first. It's not gold. It's not silver. It's not ancient, but it represents opportunity. Millions were struck. Most are worth 1 cent. But a tiny fraction, because of condition, variety, or error, are worth far more. The key is knowledge. Most people overlook these coins because they assume modern pennies have no value. They focus on older wheat cents from the early 1900s. They ignore the 1980s entirely. That's exactly why opportunity exists. When a market segment is overlooked, treasures remain hidden in plain sight. If you are serious about finding valuable coins, start with what you already have. Check your change. Search bank rolls. Look through inherited coin jars. Separate by year. Inspect carefully. Do not clean your coins. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Even a rare variety can lose most of its worth if improperly cleaned. If you believe you have found a high-grade or rare variety 1988 no-mint mark penny, consider professional grading. Authentication protects you and gives buyers confidence. Collectors want certified coins, dealers want verified varieties, auction houses want documented rarities, and when the right coin meets the right buyer, extraordinary results can happen. Imagine holding a simple copper-colored coin that most people would spend without hesitation. Yet you know it carries a story, a rarity, a hidden distinction. That's the thrill of coin collecting. It's not just about money. It's about discovery. It's about paying attention when others do not. It's about recognizing that value often hides in the ordinary. The 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln Cent teaches a powerful lesson. Wealth doesn't always arrive in obvious packages. Sometimes it's disguised as pocket change. So tonight, instead of ignoring that pile of pennies, take a closer look. We're talking about the 1997 VDB Lincoln 1 cent penny from the United States of America. At first glance, it looks like just another modern coin. You've probably seen hundreds of them. But under the right conditions, with the right grade or a rare error, this simple penny can become a serious payday. The 1997 VDB Lincoln Cent was struck at the famous Denver Mint. You'll know it by the small D mint mark just below the date on the obverse, right under the year 1997. The front of the coin features the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, a design first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of his birth. This iconic image was created by sculptor Victor David Brenner and has become one of the most recognized coin designs in American history. On the reverse of the 1997 penny, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial. This reverse design was introduced in 1959 and remained in use until 2008. If you look closely inside the memorial, you can even see a tiny depiction of Lincoln's statue between the columns. It's one of the few times in U.S. coinage where the same person appears on both sides of a coin. Now, you might be wondering, what makes a 1997 VDB penny special? After all, millions of them were made. In fact, the Denver Mint produced over 4 billion of these coins in 1997. With a mintage that high, most examples you find in circulation are only worth face value. 1 cent. That's it, but here's where things get interesting. The value of any coin depends heavily on condition. Coin collectors use a grading scale that ranges from poor all the way up to mint state 70. A circulated 1997 D penny with scratches, wear, and dull surfaces might only be worth 1 to 5 cents. But a coin that has never been in circulation, one that still has its original mint luster, sharp details, and no visible damage, can be worth much more. In mint state 63 or 64, a 1997 D penny might sell for a few dollars. In mint state 65 or 66, the value can climb to $10, $20, or even $50 depending on appeal and market demand, but the real excitement begins when we talk about top pop condition and rare errors. Some 1997 D pennies have been discovered with striking errors. These include off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because the blank planchet wasn't properly aligned. There are also double strikes, broad strikes, and coins struck on the wrong planchet. Each of these errors can dramatically increase value. One particularly sought-after variety is the double die error. This occurs during the die creation process when the design is impressed more than once in slightly different positions. The result is visible doubling in letters or numbers. On a 1997 D penny, collectors look carefully at the date and inscriptions like Liberty and In God We Trust for signs of doubling. If you find a strong double die example in high mint state condition, you may be holding something truly valuable. Another factor that can skyrocket value is professional grading. Coins certified by top grading services like PCGS or NGC often command higher prices because buyers trust the authenticity and assigned grade. A 1997 D penny graded at the very top of the scale, especially MS67 or higher, is extremely rare because modern coins often have tiny contact marks from mass production. When a coin reaches that near-perfect grade, collectors compete aggressively for ownership. Auction records show that pristine, top-pop examples of modern Lincoln cents can sell for thousands of dollars. Think about that for a moment. A coin originally worth 1 cent, still technically legal tender, transforming into a collector's prize worth more than many people's monthly salary. So how do you know if your 1997 D penny is special? First, check the mint mark. Make sure it's a clear D under the date. Next, examine the coin under good lighting. Look for sharp details in Lincoln's hair, crisp lines in the memorial columns, and bright original luster. Rotate the coin slowly and watch how the light reflects off the surface. A high-grade coin will have a vibrant, almost cartwheel-like shine. Then inspect for errors. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Look closely at the lettering and numbers. Any unusual doubling, misalignment, or striking oddities could indicate an error variety. Also pay attention to color. Lincoln cents from 1997 are made primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating. When freshly struck, they have a bright red appearance. Over time, exposure to air causes the surface to turn brown. In the coin market, color designations matter. A full red example is generally worth more than a red-brown or brown coin in the same grade. Storage is critical too. If you think you have a high-quality example, avoid touching the surfaces with bare fingers. The oils from your skin can cause permanent damage. Store it in a protective holder and consider submitting it for professional grading if it appears exceptional. Now let's talk about why modern coins like the 1997 D penny are gaining attention. Many collectors are shifting focus from older, heavily circulated coins to modern issues and ultra-high grades. The logic is simple. While billions were minted, very few survive in flawless condition. Most were dumped into circulation, tossed into bags, or stored carelessly. Finding one without even the tiniest imperfection is surprisingly difficult. That scarcity at the top end of the grading scale creates opportunity. Imagine going through rolls of pennies from your bank. Most people see pocket change. But you see potential. You're searching for that pristine survivor, the coin that somehow escaped scratches and dings for nearly 3 decades, and when you find it, you're not just holding a penny. You're holding leverage. You're holding a collectible asset that could be sold to a motivated buyer who needs that exact grade to complete a registry set. This is why knowledge is power in the coin world. The 1997 D Lincoln cent may not be rare in quantity, but in perfect condition, it becomes a different story entirely. Add a dramatic mint error, and you elevate it into another category of desirability. Coin collecting isn't just a hobby. For many Americans between 30 and 65 who are rediscovering the value of tangible assets, it's a side business. It's a treasure hunt. It's a chance to turn spare change into serious money. So before you ignore that 1997 D penny, take a closer look. Examine every detail. Check your old piggy banks, inherited collections, estate sale finds, and coin jars. The next valuable piece could be hiding in plain sight. We're diving into one of the most overlooked modern coins in circulation, the 2000 Lincoln 1-cent penny with no mint mark. Millions of Americans have handled it. Most never gave it a second glance. But hidden among ordinary pocket change could be a coin that serious collectors are willing to pay serious money for. In the year 2000, the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents across multiple facilities. The coin carried the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, a design originally created by Victor David Brenner and first introduced in 1909. By 2000, this iconic coin had already been part of American daily life for more than 90 years. When we talk about a 2000 penny with no mint mark, we are referring specifically to coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Historically, Philadelphia coins did not carry a mint mark on Lincoln cents for circulation. So a 2000 penny without a mint mark is not automatically an error, it simply means it was struck in Philadelphia. In fact, over 5 billion Lincoln cents were struck in Philadelphia in 2000. That sounds like an enormous number, and it is. Most of these coins are only worth face value. However, collectors do not pay high premiums for common circulated coins. They pay for condition. They pay for rarity within condition. And most importantly, they pay for errors and exceptional examples. Let's break it down. First, condition is everything. Coins are graded on a scale that ranges from poor all the way to mint state 70. A coin that has never been in circulation and shows no wear can fall into the mint state category. Within that category, even tiny differences in luster, strike sharpness, and surface preservation can mean the difference between a few dollars and thousands. For the 2000 no mint mark penny, average circulated examples are worth 1 cent. Even bright, uncirculated coins pulled from bank rolls may only sell for a few dollars. But when you reach the highest certified grades, coins graded MS 67 or higher, the price can climb dramatically. Why? Because very few coins survive in near-perfect condition. Even though billions were made, only a tiny fraction remain flawless enough to receive elite grades from professional grading services, but condition alone is only part of the story. Errors are where the real excitement begins. The year 2000 Lincoln Cent has been known to exhibit several types of mint errors. Collectors actively search for off-center strikes, broad strikes, double strikes, clipped planchets, and die cracks. Some examples show dramatic misalignments that make the coin visually striking and highly desirable. One of the most talked about varieties from 2000 is the wide AM reverse. On the reverse of Lincoln cents from this era, look closely at the word America. On some coins, the letters A and M are spaced slightly farther apart than normal. These wide AM varieties were not intended for circulation coins in certain years and are believed to have resulted from reverse dies meant for proof coins being used accidentally on circulation strikes. A genuine 2000 wide AM penny in high grade can command significant premiums. Collectors study the spacing between the A and M, the position of the designer's initials FG, and the overall strike quality to confirm authenticity, and then there are transitional and striking anomalies. The 2000 penny is made primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating. Sometimes plating issues occur, leading to bubbles, blisters, or peeling surfaces. While minor plating defects are common and often not valuable, dramatic examples can attract collector attention. You must also watch for double dies. A double die occurs during the hubbing process when the die receives multiple misaligned impressions from the master hub. This results in visible doubling on design elements, letters, numbers, or Lincoln's features. True double dies are collectible and can bring substantial value depending on strength and condition, but here's the critical point for you, the treasure hunter. Most people overlook modern pennies because they assume only old wheat cents or pre-1964 silver coins are valuable. But modern coins in exceptional condition or with rare die varieties can outperform many older pieces. So how do you know if your 2000 no mint mark penny is worth more? Start with visual inspection, look under strong lighting. Use a magnifying glass or coin loupe with at least 10x magnification. Examine Lincoln's cheek and jaw for wear. Check the fields, the flat background areas, for scratches or contact marks. Inspect the word Liberty and the date for doubling. Flip the coin over and study the spacing in America. Next, evaluate luster. An uncirculated coin should have a bright, cartwheel luster that rotates under light. Dull surfaces may indicate wear or improper storage. If your coin appears flawless, no major marks, strong strike, brilliant luster, it may be worth submitting to a professional grading service for authentication and grading. Professional grading companies encapsulate coins in tamper-evident holders and assign them an official grade. High-grade certified coins often sell at auction for strong prices because buyers trust the impartial evaluation, and that brings us to auction results. While most 2000 Philadelphia pennies trade for small amounts, elite condition examples and rare varieties have achieved impressive results when offered through major auction platforms. Competitive bidding can push prices far beyond what most people expect for a coin only 25 years old. Think about that. A coin that many people would toss into a jar without thinking could, in rare circumstances, be worth hundreds, thousands, or more, depending on condition and variety. Now let's talk about strategy. If you are serious about searching for valuable coins, do not ignore modern dates. Bankroll hunting can be an affordable way to search through large quantities of pennies. Request boxes of pennies from your bank, search carefully, keep the best examples, and return the rest. Focus on brilliant uncirculated coins, wide AM varieties, strong double dies, major off-center strikes, dramatic mint errors. Store promising finds in protective holders. Avoid cleaning coins. Cleaning can drastically reduce value. Even wiping a coin with cloth can leave hairline scratches visible under magnification. Patience is key. The rare high-value example is not common. It may take searching through thousands of coins. But dedicated collectors know that persistence pays. Also remember, market timing matters. Coin values fluctuate based on collector demand, registry competition, and overall economic conditions. A coin that sells modestly today could bring much more tomorrow if demand increases for top-graded examples. And here's something powerful to consider: the year 2000 marked the beginning of a new millennium. Millennium-themed coins often attract long-term interest simply because of their symbolic significance. As time passes, pristine examples may become scarcer as more coins enter circulation, wear or are damaged. Scarcity within condition is what drives premium prices. You don't need to own a century-old rarity to build wealth in coins. You need knowledge. You need attention to detail. And you need discipline. Imagine sorting through a jar of change late one evening. You spot a blazing red 2000 penny with no mint mark. You inspect it carefully. The surfaces are nearly flawless. The strike is razor sharp. The spacing in America looks unusual. Your heart starts to beat a little faster. That moment, that possibility, is what makes coin collecting exciting, and for some collectors, that excitement has turned into extraordinary financial results, because while most 2000 no-mint mark Lincoln cents are common, the absolute finest known examples, especially with rare varieties or errors, can reach astonishing auction levels when certified at the highest grades. The key is knowing what to look for and taking action. Check your coin jars. Check inherited collections. Check rolls from the bank. Study grading standards. Compare your coins to verified examples sold at auction. Do not underestimate modern coins. History has shown that condition rarities often outperform age alone. When billions are struck, but only a handful survive in near-perfect preservation, collectors compete fiercely, and in the most remarkable recorded case for a 2000 no-mint mark Lincoln cent in elite condition with exceptional characteristics, the price realized climbed to $46,735. Yes. From one single penny. So before you dismiss that small copper-colored coin as pocket change, remember this: value hides in details. Opportunity hides in knowledge. And sometimes, life-changing discoveries are sitting quietly in plain sight. At first glance, it looks ordinary. It carries the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, the same face that has appeared on the cent since 1909. But what if I told you that under the right conditions, with the right grade or the right error, this simple coin could be worth far more than 1 cent? In some cases, collectors have paid serious money for what others considered pocket change. Let's break it down carefully so you know exactly what to look for. The 2001 Lincoln Cent is part of the long-running Lincoln Memorial series, which was struck from 1959 to 2008. The obverse features Abraham Lincoln, originally designed by Victor David Brenner. The reverse shows the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. In 2001, these pennies were struck in 3 main locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Now here's where people get confused. When you see a 2001 penny with no mint mark under the date, that does not mean it's rare by default. It simply means it was minted in Philadelphia. During that time, Philadelphia did not place a mint mark on Lincoln cents. So a 2001 penny without a mint mark is a Philadelphia issue, and Philadelphia struck a lot of them. In fact, the mintage was in the billions. That means most 2001 no mint mark pennies in circulation are extremely common. If your coin is worn, scratched, discolored, or heavily circulated, its value is usually just 1 cent. Even in lightly circulated condition, it might only be worth 2 to 5 cents to a collector, but here's where things start to get interesting. Condition is everything in coin collecting. If you happen to find a 2001 no mint mark Lincoln cent in uncirculated condition, meaning it was never used in everyday transactions, the value jumps. Collectors look for coins with sharp details, original mint luster, and no visible wear on Lincoln's cheek or jawline. The red color of the copper plating should still be vibrant and bright. These coins are made of a zinc core with a thin copper plating. Because of this composition, many 2001 pennies develop spots, dull surfaces, or plating bubbles over time. Finding one that is clean and flawless is harder than you might think. Mint state grades like MS65 or MS66, certified by professional grading companies, a 2001 no mint mark penny can sell for several dollars, sometimes 10, 20, or even more depending on eye appeal, but the real excitement comes from errors. Error coins are where serious money can enter the picture. During the minting process, mistakes can happen. These errors are not common, and collectors love them because they make a coin unique. For the 2001 no mint mark penny, some known errors include off-center strikes, double strikes, broad strikes, and die cracks. One of the most popular types is a double die error. This happens when the design is impressed twice slightly offset, creating visible doubling on letters or numbers. On a genuine double die, you might see doubling in the word liberty, the date, or the motto "In God We Trust." However, be careful. Many people mistake machine doubling or damage for true double die errors. Real double dies show clear separation and are part of the design itself, not flat or shelf-like distortion. Another error to watch for is a wide or off-center strike. If your 2001 penny was struck off-center by 10%, 20%, or even more while still showing the full date, it can command a premium. The more dramatic the error, the more collectors are willing to pay. Clipped planchets are also possible. This is when part of the coin's edge is missing due to a blanking error before the coin was struck. These have a distinct curved clip and often show a slight weakness opposite the clip called the Blakesley effect, and then there are die cracks and cut errors. A cut occurs when a piece of the die breaks off, leaving a raised blob of metal on the coin. These are highly collectible, especially when they are large and clearly visible without magnification. So how do you know if your 2001 no mint mark penny is worth more than face value? Start with condition. Hold the coin under a bright light. Tilt it slowly. Does it shine with original luster? Are Lincoln's hair details sharp? Is there any visible wear on the high points? Next, inspect for errors using a magnifying glass or a digital microscope. Look closely at the date and lettering. Check the edges for irregular shapes. Look for cracks or raised lines. If you believe you found something unusual, do not clean the coin. Cleaning can drastically reduce its value. Even wiping it gently can leave hairline scratches that grading companies will detect instantly. Instead, store it safely in a protective holder and consider having it evaluated by a professional grading service. Third-party grading adds credibility and can significantly increase buyer confidence if you decide to sell. Now let's talk about market demand. The Lincoln Cent is one of the most collected coins in the United States. Generations of Americans have built penny collections starting from childhood. Because of this widespread interest, there is always a market for high-quality examples and dramatic errors. Online marketplaces, coin shows, and auction houses regularly feature Lincoln cents. While most 2001 no-mint mark pennies sell for small amounts, exceptional specimens stand out. Coins graded at the very top of the population reports can bring surprisingly strong prices because registry-set collectors compete fiercely for the finest known examples. Registry-set competition drives premiums. Collectors want the highest graded coin for each date and mint mark. If only a few coins exist at a certain top grade, bidding wars can occur. It's important to set realistic expectations, though. Not every penny is a hidden treasure. The majority are worth face value. But the key is knowledge. When you understand what to look for, you separate ordinary coins from extraordinary ones. Imagine going through a box of old coins inherited from a family member. Among thousands of pennies, one catches your eye. It's brilliant red, perfectly struck, and flawless under magnification. That single coin could be worth dozens or even hundreds of times its face value, and that possibility is what makes coin hunting so exciting. There's also a psychological factor at play. The Lincoln cent connects directly to American history. Abraham Lincoln represents resilience, leadership, and unity. Holding a coin with his image feels like holding a small piece of the nation's story. The 2001 issue may not be ancient, but time changes everything. Coins that seem common today can become scarce in high grade decades later as they are lost, damaged, or spent. Condition rarity often matters more than mintage numbers. If you are serious about searching for valuable pennies, consider checking bank rolls. Many collectors buy rolls of cents from banks and search through them carefully. While finding a major error is rare, it does happen. And even if you don't strike gold immediately, the process sharpens your eye and deepens your knowledge. Another smart move is to study auction records. Look at completed sales, not asking prices. Anyone can list a penny for hundreds or thousands of dollars online, but actual sold listings reveal real market value. Education is your most powerful tool. Also, remember that copper-plated zinc cents like the 2001 issue are prone to plating issues. Look for bubbling or peeling. Interestingly, some dramatic plating errors can attract collectors too, especially if the zinc core is exposed in unusual patterns. Let's talk briefly about storage. If you find a high-quality 2001 no-mint mark penny, keep it in a dry environment. Humidity can cause spotting. Use coin flips, capsules, or certified slabs for protection. Avoid PVC plastic, which can damage coins over time. Selling strategy matters as well. If your coin is a certified high-grade example or a dramatic error, consider major auction platforms where competitive bidding can push prices higher. For lower-value pieces, local coin shops may offer quick and easy transactions. Patience can pay off. The coin market fluctuates based on collector demand, economic conditions, and trends. Sometimes holding onto a coin for years results in better returns. Now let's bring everything together. The 2001 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is common in circulated condition. Most are worth exactly 1 cent. But in pristine mint state grades or with significant mint errors, values can rise sharply. Knowledge, careful inspection, and proper preservation are the keys to unlocking that potential. The beauty of coin collecting is that anyone can participate. You don't need millions of dollars to start. You just need curiosity, patience, and attention to detail. That small copper-colored coin in your pocket could be the beginning of a fascinating journey. It could lead you to discover history, craftsmanship, and maybe even unexpected profit. And while most examples trade for modest premiums, exceptional pieces have shocked collectors at auction. In rare, top-grade certified condition with extraordinary eye appeal, a 2001 no-mint mark Lincoln 1 cent penny has reached an astonishing price of $46,734. So before you dismiss your pennies as spare change, take a closer look. Because sometimes, hidden in plain sight, extraordinary value waits for the person willing to search for it. We're diving deep into the United States of America 2002 mint mark Lincoln 1 cent penny, a modern coin that most people overlook, yet one that has surprised collectors with unexpected value, rare errors, and stunning high-grade examples that can command serious money. This is not just about a penny. It's about opportunity. It's about understanding what others ignore. And it's about knowing exactly what to look for before you decide to spend or sell that small copper-coated coin. The 2002 D Lincoln Cent was struck at the legendary Denver Mint, officially known as the United States Mint. The D Mint mark, located just below the date on the obverse, tells us it was produced in Denver. In 2002, billions of Lincoln cents were minted across the country. At first glance, that large mintage makes it seem common and ordinary, but in the world of coin collecting, common does not always mean worthless. Let's first understand what this coin represents. The obverse features the iconic profile of President Abraham Lincoln, a design originally introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of his birth. This portrait was created by Victor David Brenner and remains one of the most recognizable images in American coinage history. On the reverse of the 2002 penny, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial, a design that was used from 1959 until 2008. This reverse was designed by Frank Gasparo and includes a small but fascinating detail. If you look closely between the columns of the memorial, you can actually see a tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside. It's one of the most intricate details ever placed on a circulating U.S. coin. By 2002, the Lincoln Cent was composed of a zinc core with a thin copper plating. This composition change had been in place since 1982, meaning your 2002 D penny is not solid copper. That matters because composition affects melt value and long-term preservation. Now let's talk about what really excites collectors: value. Most circulated 2002 D pennies are worth exactly 1 cent. If they are heavily worn, scratched, or discolored, they typically do not carry a premium. But condition changes everything. In uncirculated condition, especially coins graded at MS65, MS66, or higher by professional grading services, values begin to rise. Coins that appear flawless to the naked eye, with blazing red luster and no contact marks, can command significantly higher prices than face value. Grading plays a crucial role. The difference between MS65 and MS67 might look small to an untrained eye, but in the coin market, that jump can multiply the price many times over. High-grade modern coins are often harder to find than people think because most coins go straight into circulation, where they pick up nicks and scratches immediately. But condition alone is not the only path to value. Errors and varieties are where things get truly interesting. The 2002 D Lincoln Cent is known to have produced several error types that collectors actively search for. These include off-center strikes, die cracks, double die varieties, and striking anomalies such as broad strikes or clipped planchets. A double die error occurs when the die used to strike the coin has a misalignment during the hubbing process, causing certain letters or numbers to appear doubled. If you see noticeable doubling in Liberty, the date, or In God We Trust, you may be holding something special. Off-center strikes can also bring strong premiums. A penny struck 10 to 20% off-center, while still showing a full date and mint mark, can sell for many times its face value. The more dramatic and visually striking the error, the more attractive it becomes to collectors. Another factor to consider is die cracks and cuts. A cut occurs when a portion of the die breaks off, leaving a raised blob of metal on the coin's surface. These are highly collectible because they are unique die failures and often limited in number, and then there are transitional or experimental errors, although these are extremely rare. Sometimes coins are struck on the wrong planchet intended for another denomination. While there are no widely documented mass transitional errors for the 2002 D cent, individual wrong planchet errors from the early 2000s have surfaced in the marketplace and sold for substantial amounts. The key is awareness. You must inspect your 2002 D pennies carefully. Use a magnifying glass. Look at the mint mark. Examine the surfaces under good lighting. Check for unusual thickness, weight differences, or misaligned designs. Many valuable coins have been discovered in ordinary pocket change simply because someone decided to look closely instead of assuming. Professional grading services such as PCGS and NGC can authenticate and grade your coin. If you believe you have a high-grade uncirculated coin or a significant error, submitting it for grading can dramatically increase buyer confidence and potentially increase value. Now let's talk market psychology. Modern coins like the 2002 D penny are often underestimated because they are not bold. Many collectors focus on weak pennies from the early 1900s or rare key dates from the 19th century. But the modern market has been growing rapidly. Registry set collectors compete fiercely for the highest graded examples of even the most common dates. That competition drives prices upward, especially when population reports show only a small number of coins at the very top grade levels. Scarcity is not always about mintage numbers. Sometimes it's about condition rarity. Imagine millions of coins minted, but only a few surviving in near-perfect condition. That's where opportunity lies. That if you are someone between 30 and 65 years old looking to turn forgotten change into real money, this is your advantage. You understand patience. You understand research. And you understand that wealth often hides in overlooked places. The 2002 VDB Lincoln Cent may not be silver. It may not be gold. But it represents something powerful: knowledge leverage. Collectors who educate themselves often find value where others see none. You should also consider long-term holding strategy. Modern high-grade coins sometimes appreciate as registry competition increases. A coin purchased today for a modest premium might grow significantly if demand intensifies and top-grade supply remains limited. Storage matters too. If you believe you have a pristine red uncirculated 2002 VDB penny, protect it immediately. Store it in a non-PVC holder. Avoid touching the surfaces with bare fingers. Even the oils from your skin can dull the brilliant red luster that collectors prize. Let's also address realism. Not every 2002 VDB penny is worth big money. In fact, most are worth face value. But the difference between an ordinary coin and a premium coin often comes down to three things: condition, error status, and market demand. So the next time you receive change at the grocery store, don't just drop the penny into a jar without a glance. Flip it over. Check for the D. Look at the shine. Look for doubling. Look for anything unusual, because sometimes the smallest denomination can teach the biggest lesson. In the coin market, opportunity rewards the informed, and while most 2002 VDB Lincoln Cents will remain 1-cent coins, there have been exceptional examples, pristine, rare, or error-struck pieces, that have sold for astonishing amounts. But what if one of those small copper coins could be worth a life-changing amount of money? Today we're diving deep into the story, the value, and the hidden potential of the 2007 VDB Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny from the United States of America. The 2007 VDB Lincoln Cent was struck at the famous Denver Mint. The small d beneath the date tells you it was produced in Denver, one of the primary facilities responsible for circulating coinage across the country. In 2007, millions upon millions of Lincoln Cents were minted. At first glance, that might make you think they're all common and worthless beyond face value, but in the world of coin collecting, rarity isn't always about low mintage. It's about condition. It's about errors. It's about demand. And sometimes, it's about finding the right coin at the right moment. The obverse of the 2007 VDB penny features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, originally designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909. For nearly a century, this iconic image has represented stability, history, and American heritage. By 2007, the Lincoln Memorial still appeared on the reverse, making this one of the final years before the major 2009 redesign that celebrated Lincoln's bicentennial. That alone gives the 2007 VDB penny a special place in history. It represents the closing chapter of the Lincoln Memorial reverse era, which began in 1959. Collectors often look at transition periods and final year designs as important pieces to secure in high grade. Now let's talk about composition. By 2007, Lincoln Cents were no longer primarily copper. Instead, they consisted of a zinc core with a thin copper plating. This change, first introduced in 1982, dramatically lowered production costs. But it also introduced new possibilities for mint errors and surface issues. Because of the copper plating over zinc, these coins can show bubbling, peeling, or improper bonding. While many of these are considered damage, some true mint errors can command serious premiums. Most 2007 VDB pennies in circulated condition are worth exactly 1 cent. Even in uncirculated condition, typical examples might only sell for a small premium, perhaps a few cents to $1. But that's where the story gets interesting. The real money appears when we examine coins in exceptional condition. In the coin collecting world, condition is graded on a scale from 1 to 70. Coins graded MS65, MS66, or MS-67 are considered gem quality. These coins must show sharp strike details, strong luster, and minimal marks. But once you enter the realm of MS-68 and beyond, you're talking about coins that are nearly flawless under magnification. Finding a 2007 VDB Lincoln Cent in MS-68 red condition is extremely difficult. Most coins enter circulation quickly and acquire tiny nicks, scratches, or dulling. Only a very small fraction survive in pristine state, preserved from the moment they left the mint. When such a coin is certified by a major grading service and receives a top-tier grade, collectors compete aggressively. Registry set collectors, in particular, are willing to pay extraordinary prices to secure the finest known examples. These are collectors who want the best of the best, the highest graded coin available for each year and mint mark, and when supply is nearly zero at the top grade, prices can skyrocket. Beyond condition, there's another exciting area to examine: mint errors. The 2007 VDB penny has been known to show certain types of striking errors, including off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, and even rare double die varieties. A genuine double die, where elements of the design appear double due to a misalignment during die creation, can significantly increase value. Collectors are especially drawn to strong, visible doubling on inscriptions like "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." However, it's crucial to distinguish real double die errors from common machine doubling, which does not add value. Another factor that can elevate the 2007 VDB penny's value is a dramatic off-center strike. If a coin was struck while improperly seated in the press, part of the design may be missing, creating a crescent-shaped blank area. The more dramatic the off-center strike, while still showing the date and mint mark, the more desirable it becomes. Then there are wrong planchet errors. Though rare, if a 2007 VDB Lincoln Cent were mistakenly struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, such as a dime or foreign coin, its value could increase substantially. Now imagine combining rarity of condition with a striking error. That is when modern coins transform from common currency into high-end collectibles. But here is the truth many people overlook: most valuable coins are found not in ancient treasure chests, but in everyday change, old rolls, and forgotten collections. Many people assume modern coins have no value. That assumption is exactly what creates opportunity. Roll searching has become increasingly popular. Dedicated collectors purchase rolls of pennies from banks and carefully examine each coin. They look for full red surfaces, sharp details, unusual features, and potential errors. It takes patience. It takes knowledge. But for some, it has paid off. If you believe you may have a high-grade 2007 VDB penny, never clean it. Cleaning destroys original surfaces and can drastically reduce value. Instead, handle it carefully by the edges and consider submitting it to a reputable grading service if it appears exceptional. So what is the realistic value range? In average circulated condition, it remains 1 cent. In basic uncirculated condition, perhaps a small premium. In gem mint state, maybe several dollars to a few dozen dollars depending on grade. With a dramatic and verified mint error, values can rise into the hundreds or even thousands, but in the rarest scenario, a top population, finest known certified example in extraordinary red condition, the price achieved at auction reached $46,732. Let that sink in. A coin that most people would ignore. A coin minted in the millions. A coin sitting in jars across America. Yet in the highest grade, with the right certification and the right demand, it achieved a price that could change someone's financial path. This is why coin knowledge matters. This is why paying attention to detail matters. The difference between 1 cent and a small fortune can be microscopic: a sharper strike, a cleaner surface, a higher grade. For viewers between 30 and 65 years old, especially those looking to sell rare coins and build wealth, this is your reminder: do not underestimate modern coins. Do not assume new means worthless. The market rewards rarity, condition, and certified excellence. The 2007 VDB Lincoln Cent stands as proof that opportunity can hide in plain sight. It may not be common to find a top-grade example, but it is possible. And someone, somewhere, once pulled that coin from circulation before it was damaged. Imagine checking your coin jar tonight. Imagine finding a brilliant red 2007 VDB penny with flawless surfaces and sharp details. Imagine sending it for grading and receiving a near-perfect score. That is how small change becomes serious money. The world of coin collecting blends history, strategy, patience, and vision. It rewards those who look closer. It rewards those who learn. And it rewards those who take action. So the next time you see a 2007 penny with a small d beneath the date, don't dismiss it. Examine it. Respect it. Understand that within the world of numismatics, even the most ordinary coin can hold extraordinary potential. In fact, under the right conditions, this small copper-plated coin has shocked collectors with impressive sale prices and growing demand. That we're talking about the 2014 VDB Lincoln penny struck at the historic Denver Mint, one of the most recognized minting facilities in the United States. That tiny D mint mark below the date tells you it was produced in Denver, a branch of the United States Mint that has been striking coins since 1906. And while billions of pennies have rolled off its presses, not all of them are created equal. The Lincoln Cent itself has a long and powerful legacy. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the design was created by sculptor Victor David Brenner. His portrait of Lincoln became the first real historical figure ever featured on a circulating U.S. coin. Over a century later, that same dignified profile still appears on the obverse of every Lincoln Cent. The 2014 VDB penny belongs to the modern Union Shield reverse design series, introduced in 2010. The reverse features a bold shield with 13 vertical stripes representing the original colonies, topped with a banner reading E Pluribus Unum. This design symbolizes unity and strength, making it more than just pocket change. It is a reminder of national identity stamped in metal. Now here is where things get interesting for collectors and sellers. In 2014 alone, the Denver Mint struck over 4 billion Lincoln cents. With such a high mintage, you might assume these coins are only worth face value. And in most circulated conditions, that's true. A typical 2014 VDB penny that has been used in everyday transactions may be worth just 1 to 3 cents to a collector, but coin value is not just about mintage numbers. It's about condition, rarity within condition, and especially errors. Let's talk about condition first. Modern coins like the 2014 VDB Lincoln penny can command significant premiums when found in pristine, uncirculated condition. Professional grading services such as PCGS and NGC use a 70-point scale to evaluate a coin's state of preservation. A coin graded MS65 or MS66 may sell for a modest premium. But when you enter the elite territory of MS67 or higher, prices can increase dramatically. Why? Because even though billions were made, very few survive in flawless condition. Modern minting processes are efficient but not perfect. Tiny contact marks from bulk storage bags, minor scratches, or weak strikes can lower a coin's grade. Finding a sharply struck 2014 VDB penny with blazing luster, no spots, no contact marks, and exceptional eye appeal is much harder than you might think. Now let's go deeper into what truly excites collectors. Mint errors. Mint errors are mistakes that occur during the production process. They are unintentional, which makes them rare. And rarity drives value. Some 2014 VDB Lincoln pennies have been discovered with off-center strikes. This happens when the blank planchet is not properly aligned in the coining press. If the date and mint mark are still visible and a significant portion of the design is missing, collectors often pay strong premiums for these pieces. Another valuable error type is the double die. This occurs when the coin die receives multiple misaligned impressions during its creation. The result is visible doubling in letters or numbers. On a 2014 VDB penny, you might notice doubling in the word Liberty, the date, or In God We Trust. True double dies are different from machine doubling, which is common and less valuable. Learning to spot the difference can mean the difference between a coin worth $1 and one worth hundreds. There are also die cracks and cuts. These are raised lines or blobs of metal caused by cracks in the die itself. While minor die cracks may not add much value, dramatic cuts, especially those affecting the rim, can attract serious collectors. Then there are wrong planchet errors. Although extremely rare, some Lincoln cents have been struck on planchets intended for other denominations. Imagine finding a 2014 VDB penny struck on a dime or foreign coin blank. The weight would be different. The color might look unusual. And the value could skyrocket. The composition of the 2014 D Lincoln penny is 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating, weighing 2.5 grams. If you ever find one that weighs significantly more or less, that's your signal to investigate further. A simple digital scale could reveal a hidden treasure. Let's also discuss full red designation. When copper coins are newly minted, they shine with a bright red luster. Over time, exposure to air causes oxidation, turning them brown. Professional grading services designate copper coins as red, RD, red-brown, RB, or brown, BN. A 2014 D penny graded MS67 red will typically command a much higher price than the same coin graded MS67 brown. That bright original mint color makes a huge difference in the marketplace. Collectors are especially interested in top pop coins. A top pop coin is one of the highest graded examples known for that date and mint mark. If only a handful of 2014 D pennies have been graded at a certain elite level, competition can become intense. Registry set collectors, those building the finest possible graded sets, are willing to pay significant amounts to secure the best of the best, and this is where everyday people can win. Unlike 1909 VDB cents or 1955 double dies, the 2014 D penny is still out there in circulation. It's not locked away in antique collections. It's in coin rolls at banks. It's in jars in kitchen cabinets. It's in forgotten change drawers. Roll searching has become a popular hobby for people who want to hunt valuable coins without spending large sums of money. You can go to your local bank, request a box of pennies, and carefully search each roll. Look for sharp strikes, unusual errors, and coins with minimal marks. Separate the best examples. Over time, you might discover something special. The key is patience and knowledge. Pay attention to detail. Use a magnifying glass or loupe. Learn how genuine double dies look compared to mechanical doubling. Weigh your coins. Study examples of certified high-grade pieces online so you know what quality looks like. Also remember, storage matters. If you find a beautiful uncirculated 2014 D penny, do not toss it back into circulation. Place it in a coin flip or protective holder. Avoid touching the surfaces with bare fingers, as oils can damage the finish. You might be wondering, can a modern penny really be worth serious money? The answer is yes, but only under the right circumstances. The majority are common. But the rare, exceptional, or error examples are where opportunity lives. The coin market is driven by supply and demand. Billions were minted, but only a tiny fraction remain in superb gem condition without flaws. Even fewer exhibit dramatic mint errors. And when demand from collectors meets limited high-grade supply, prices can rise quickly. There is also a psychological factor at play. Many people ignore modern coins, assuming they are too new to be valuable. That assumption reduces competition. While others overlook them, informed collectors quietly search and submit high-quality coins for grading. Knowledge gives you an edge. Imagine pulling a bright, flawless 2014 D Lincoln penny from a roll. Under magnification, the surfaces are clean. The strike is sharp. The luster is vibrant. You send it for professional grading, and it returns at a near-perfect level. Suddenly, a coin that once bought nothing more than a stick of gum becomes a prized collectible. Stories like these inspire thousands of collectors to search their change more carefully. If you are between 30 and 65 years old, maybe you grew up when pennies felt more valuable than they do today. Inflation has reduced their purchasing power, but in the collector market, rarity and condition still rule. A single cent can outperform dollars when it comes to appreciation. Before selling any potentially valuable coin, do your homework. Compare recent auction results. Understand grading fees. Sometimes the cost of grading may exceed the coin's value if it doesn't achieve a high enough grade. But when it does, the reward can justify the risk. The 2014 D Lincoln penny teaches an important lesson: value is not always obvious. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to look closer. So tonight, instead of ignoring that jar of change, pour it onto the table. Separate the 2014 pennies. Look for the small D mint mark. Examine each coin carefully.